Hello, adventurers. My name is Chance. Welcome to my spellbook, and thank you so much for checking out the 30th video in our background series. We're really, I don't know, I like the progress. I think it'll go by relatively quick, hopefully from here on out. We have some of my absolute favorite backgrounds coming up in a little bit here, so I'm super pumped to talk about those. But today we have in store another interesting background, to say the least. Not really so much in terms of its execution, but in terms of its customizability. There are a handful of backgrounds that are incredibly customizable, and the Inheritor, which we're talking about today, is certainly one of them. The Inheritor is found under the Sword Coast Adventures Guide, which is an older book, so I'm assuming most people have access to it. And if you don't, I'd consider it worth getting. It didn't really add too much in the way of min-maxing optimization, but it did go a long way in terms of adding flavor and a couple other options to the game. Now let's take a quick look at its description. You are the heir to something of great value. Not mere coin or wealth, but an object that has been entrusted to you and you alone. Your inheritance might have come directly to you from a member of your family, by right of birth, or it could have been left to you by a friend, a mentor, a teacher, or someone else important in your life. Another addition I'd like to make to that is it could also just be the strands of fate. Maybe in a past life you were someone of noteworthiness, and some item or something of that nature made its way back to you in the current version of your life. Very interesting stuff. It does provide a nice little D8 table for what your inheritance might be. It's weird because both 2 and 3 are just a trinket, and I don't know really why that is. Maybe it's a misprint on D&D Beyond, but I remember that being even in the Sword Coast Adventures Guide. So I don't know, I might be misremembering. If I got it wrong, let me know down beneath, but I'm pretty dang sure I remember thinking that was weird when I was flipping through the actual book. In any case, some of them are pretty cool, some of them maybe less so. However, talk with your DM about it, and we'll get into that in a little bit here, but your DM is going to play a huge role in kind of helping fine-tune a lot of this stuff. But before we get into that, let's quickly go over its mechanics here. Under skill proficiencies, you gain a survival, plus arcana, history, or religion. What I really like about this is it allows for a decent amount of customization within the character already, which is quite nice, especially if you have a particular theme in mind, and it might relate back to the inheritance you received as well. In any case, let's move on to its tool proficiencies. You gain your choice of a gaming set or musical instrument, which once again kind of funds into that customization, and any one language of your choice. Under equipment, your inheritance, a set of traveler's clothes, the tool you choose, and a pouch containing 15 GP, which puts you above the average by 5 GP, which is certainly nice starting out. I really do like these mechanics. I think they're okay. Really customizable, which is what this background was kind of built around. Now let's take a look at its feature here, and this is quite a long one, so I do apologize in advance. The Dungeon Master is free to use your inheritance as a story hook, sending you on a quest to learn more about its history or true nature, or confronting you with foes who want to claim it for themselves or prevent you from learning what you seek. The DM also determines the properties of your inheritance and how they figure into the item's history and importance. For instance, the object might be a minor magical item, or one that begins with modest ability and increases in potency with the passage of time, or the true nature of your inheritance might not be apparent at first and is revealed only when certain conditions are met. Very interesting stuff. This is the first feature, and as far as I remember, the only feature that focuses specifically on the DM. What is interesting about this is when I read over it, I was already doing this in my games. So in my games, I usually assign characters items or trinkets relatively close to the beginning of the game that adapt and grow as the character does. And they have unique personality traits from time to time. I usually make sure they're sentient because I like having that level of engagement. But so I've already kind of done this and experimented with it for a long time now. And let me tell you, it's great. Like, it really is fantastic. It kind of gets over the party's lustful desire for loot in a lot of ways, because they're not always looking to constantly upgrade their equipment if they have equipment that grows alongside them. Really interesting stuff, and this is a good way to guide the party, or at least this particular player, without coming across as railroady. In any case, it is interesting, a lot you can do with it. It's kind of kept loose and vague intentionally to kind of let the DM have as much fun as possible with this particular player. That being said, if you have any cool ideas for inheritances, please put them down beneath in the comment section, and be sure to explain how, why, or what would cause them to grow and change, and what they would ultimately do. Now let's move on to some suggested characteristics here. For the personality trait, I went with, if someone is in trouble, I'm always ready to lend help. Under ideal, respect, people deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and this will tick you towards the good alignment. Under bond, I protect those who cannot protect themselves, and the flaw is the tyrant who rules my land will stop at nothing to see me killed. Very interesting stuff. By this, what I kind of see is a King Arthur-esque kind of character, only not in power yet, kind of having assassination attempts on him, and the inheritance in that case would be the sword. Or the sword Excalibur, to be more specific. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's a lot more you can do with this as well. For example, let's say you are, in your past life, you were a lich or some evil high caster of some form or another, and the inheritance is your spellbook that found you. Even with all that time being passed, it still seeked you out when you're reincarnated, and now you have access to like this evil tome of undeath and destruction. The only thing is, not all of it's readable yet, and as you do certain things and reach certain milestones, more spells become revealed to you. Very interesting stuff. I like mixing in sentience with a lot of this, but I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. That being said, let's get to my personal thoughts on it. I really like that this background kind of challenges the DM to take a more active role in character development, because I find a lot of DMs approach Dungeons & Dragons in particular almost like it's a sandbox role-playing game. I mean, if that's your DM style, that's fine, although I have had very poor luck with it in the past. I find parties require a decent amount of direction, at least at the start, until they can build enough story and plot-based momentum, and from there, they kind of take care of themselves. This provides the DM with a great guiding tool, and I like that. That being said, if you're a Dungeon Master and you're listening to this right now, I'd recommend you do this anyways. One of my favorite things to do is provide the party with sentient weapons that reflect how the world views them. So they might be good aligned on the inside, but if all they're doing is pillaging and raiding and looting, then that is going to be reflected in the personalities of their weapons. And I would even go so far as to have the weapons attack with disadvantage when they're up against evil foes because the alignments match. Very similar-ish to the Equalizer sword back in Baldur's Gate. It's kind of an alignment-based sword, so I'd have their weapons or armor behave in that way. I'd also have more evil things attracted to them because their armor and weapon were giving out that kind of aura, and I wouldn't really tell them about it until they had a high-level caster appraise their items, and that would reveal kind of what was going on. However, overall mileage may vary, I suppose. Feel free to get as creative as you like. I do like the idea, however, of sentient weapons in general in these games, and I find most party members love them as well. That being said, let me know what you think of Inheritor down beneath in the comments section. Be sure to mention any thoughts, questions, comments, or concerns you have about it, and mention any cool sentient weapon or item experiences you have had while playing D&D. And if you'd like to gain access to a free one-shot, please do so by using the code WELCOME over at the Guild Hall. A pretty significant number of you have already gotten at least one of them, and the results and feedback have been incredible, so I'm so happy to hear that, guys. That being said, I hope you have a great day, and as always, happy adventuring.